Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. I'm your host, Metal Mike, and today we got a lot to talk about today. Couple trades happening before the start of free agency on March 11th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. You know, these trades, obviously, they're not fully official yet. They won't be official until 4 p.m. on Wednesday, but they are official because they were done. We're going to talk about all the news, all the trades, plus I made a list. We're going to have a fun little segment today. I made a list of my personal opinionated top 5 free agents from each position. Okay. Now, I'm going to put a note out there that there is a player on this list that has already been signed to a team. Okay. Because I obviously got to do my list a couple days before the show. I'm not going to do it literally an hour before we go live. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to rush to make a list an hour before going live on a Saturday morning. Okay, I'm going to do my list at least 2 days in advance. Now, yeah, I could have fixed the list yesterday, but the thing is this is my personal thought of the top 5 free agents out there, and one of them has been signed already. Which kind of goes to show that, you know, this player being on a top 5 list makes sense. Good morning, Tommy. Thank you for joining me here this morning on the Huddle Hub Podcast. So we got the news coming out. We got my top 5 free agents from each position, and we got the trades to talk about. Before we get into it, please make sure you are heading over to the Huddle Hub Podcast over on social media, on X, TikTok, and now on Instagram at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit that follow button. You're going to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. That's how you follow on YouTube. You don't have to pay anything. I know you hear subscription and you're thinking, oh, I got to pull money out and pay for this. No, it's free. It's free to subscribe/follow on the YouTube. That's all you have to do. And make sure you're hitting that follow button on the Twitch if you are watching on the Twitch today. All the links to all of our social media bios are in the Twitch bio. You just click on the one you desire and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the rest of the NFL and college football offseason and beyond. So, exactly. It'd be great. People can just hit the follow button. It's totally free. They don't have to pull money out. They don't have to pay for nothing. We don't ask for people to throw money at us. Just follow and enjoy. You know, we had a comment the other day on one of the videos, And this is something I said to John on the Tuesday episode. I said, we're starting to get the trolls. We're starting to get the trolls on our videos. And you're getting somewhere when you start getting trolls. It's like the new way of social media. Like if you are attracting the trolls, you're getting somewhere with something. Okay. Somebody called me the bald Mr. Clean version of Adam Schefter. The bald Mr. Clean version wannabe Adam Schefter. That's what they called me. Okay. That's what they called me. And I laughed at it. I was like, well, I'm taking that as a compliment. If you are putting me on the level, first off, I am nowhere near the level of Adam Schefter. Why? Because where do you think I get most of my source? Okay. Schefty announces it. Then I back up on it and I'll announce it on our page. That's what I do. I'm not afraid to admit that. Because me and John talked about this on the Tuesday show. We're not insiders. We don't work for anybody. We are independent. So we got to get our sources from somewhere, right? Where do you think we get our sources from? We are just fans trying to create a brand and build a brand. Because, yes, there are many, many football podcasts out there. Just like there are many, many pro wrestling podcasts out there. There are many, many pro wrestling content creators, all that stuff. So we're going to be judged and we're going to be compared and all of that stuff. And that's where sometimes I don't think people really understand is like they don't put it together like, are these guys fans? If we would have been working with somebody, you would think we'd probably have a little bit of a better production. I wouldn't be sitting in a room that I turned an area of my room into a studio section. I don't know. But I sat there thinking, if we're attracting trolls, then we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. And exactly. It does the job. It's a nice little corner section of my room. It's literally half of my room. That's what my room is not big. But I make it work. And that's all there is to it. But what you're getting somewhere when you're attracting the trolls and they want to come in and start name calling. And then when you misinterpret information, oh man, watch out. Oh, then they really put the hammer down. This ain't the job for you. First off, number one, thank you for watching the video. That's one more view added on to the almost 130,000 views we've gotten on YouTube since March 16th. Can you believe that? 130,000 views on YouTube since March 16th. It's huge. That's huge. How much we appreciate the fact that people watch our videos. We have over 200,000 views on TikTok. So we have people that like our stuff, and that's who we're there. We're there for the fan that wants to join us and help us build, and we appreciate it. We appreciate it. So just looked and got really confused. I was like, only the 7th, but I follow now. on Instagram. Instagram's fairly young, Tommy. That's the thing is I literally just started up the Instagram like 2 weeks ago, I think. The Instagram is fairly young. So a lot of work to be done on the Instagram. March 16th. Yeah. Well, last year. We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary. We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary. We're about 9 days away from our 1 year anniversary. Next Monday. Not this Monday coming up. Next Monday is our 1 year anniversary. So We'll be celebrating our 1 year anniversary on the Tuesday show on the 17th. I don't know if we're going to do anything special. I think we're just going to run a regular show. You know, it's definitely a huge accomplishment, a huge occasion to the fact that my camera's messed up. It keeps moving on its own, and it's kind of bothering me. I need a new camera anyways. You know, it's a great accomplishment. It is a great accomplishment to the fact that, you know, we're here a year now. It's all, they always say it's all about the consistency. And here's the thing is, you know, during the off season, we run on a different schedule at times because, you know, obviously it's not the regular season. We run the Tuesday show at 7:00 at night. And that's a consistency. But during the off season, you know, we can run a second show, you know, the weekend show on a Saturday. We can run it on a Sunday. During the season, we run on a Sunday. We start at 10:30. But the nice thing about the off season is being able to do the show on a Saturday, put the content together and pop it out by Sunday. You know, so yeah, I mean, here's the thing is we're, you know, there's a lot of plans for the future, getting past our 1 year anniversary, Tommy. So, you know, in regards to starting to have guests come on and all that stuff in year one, that wasn't a focus. It really was not a focus to even try and have guests come on and do it. It was purely, let's start building content. In year two, there's going to start to be focus of having guests and all that stuff. You know, we got a lot of things planned for the future. A lot of things planned for the future. It's all about just taking those baby steps. We don't want to run before we can walk. And we started walking. We're starting to walk. Our feet are on the ground. We're attracting and all that stuff. We still are not at the phase to where we even want to start jogging. So, I mean, football's never going anywhere. You know, so even if we don't have a guest on in year two, year three, year four, it's all about building the consistency of content. And in year one, that was the focus of building the consistency. We've been there. There is a huge plan of building this brand. And that's why I always say, hit that follow button and help us build the Huddle Hub podcast through this and beyond. That's why I say it. So you ran into a wall that had to hurt. That had to hurt. I walked into a wall once and it hurt. But guys, yeah, let's get into it. Saturday edition of the Huddle Hub podcast. Again, make sure you're following on social media, X, TikTok, and Instagram. Subscribing on YouTube and following on the Twitch. And help us build the Huddle Hub podcast through the NFL offseason and the college offseason and beyond. So we're the only ones you listen to for fantasy stuff. You don't listen to ESPN. Really? I mean, number one, appreciate that. I do. We do. I mean, to listen to us for advice for anything is a huge, honor. You know, so, thank you. I'm stunned, number one, because fantasy, number one, is a hit or miss type of thing. Fantasy is one of those things where you got to take chances literally every week. Sometimes you get lucky and you have that big roster to where you can literally keep your roster set for weeks on end and win and continue winning. Why? Because you have that successful roster. But if you have a roster where you got to make changes every week, sometimes you got to look for that advice. You got to look for that source to tell you, like, you know, maybe I should play this guy opposed to this guy. So to come to us for fantasy stuff, that, dude, I appreciate that. I do. I do. So you like debating about sports, entertaining. I'm all about the debate. So let's get into the news. All right, we got to get into some stuff, man. We're here for 60 minutes. So let's get into the news coming out of football. The world of football. Starting off with Aaron Rodgers. He had mentioned earlier this week that he is non-committal about the future of his playing career. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Aaron Rodgers coming back to Pittsburgh because Mike McCarthy's there now. Him and Mike McCarthy have a huge relationship. Obviously, Mike was his head coach at Green Bay, and then LaFleur came in and took over pretty much halfway through Aaron Rodgers' career, or 3/4 of the way through his career. And then Rodgers left. He goes to New York, doesn't have the greatest time in New York, comes to Pittsburgh and has a pretty decent season, gets to the playoffs, gets beat. Okay. So now Aaron Rodgers is at the point of his career of it's like, do I come back or do I retire? Now, I'm going to say this, and this is my honest opinion about Aaron Rodgers. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers should bring him back for another year. Okay? They have Will Howard sitting on their bench, and they still have that question of who's our quarterback. They still have that question. Mike McCarthy is now through the door. Aaron Rodgers has a relationship with him. I think Aaron Rodgers going back to Pittsburgh for one more year would not only be beneficial to Aaron Rodgers, because I don't think anybody else is going to want to sign him, because look what Arizona's doing. Look what Miami's doing. Look what the Raiders just did yesterday, releasing Geno Smith. Teams are going to start moving towards the younger guys coming out of college. And some of them may turn towards veterans, but I don't think they would turn towards Aaron Rodgers, who is arguably the longest lasting quarterback veteran next to Joe Flacco. Okay? So I say go back to Pittsburgh. If not Pittsburgh, try and get him back. He has that relationship with Mike McCarthy. Things might turn around. And in that process, either go draft a quarterback, or you got Will Howard, who you just drafted last year, and get him going. Pittsburgh, everything is on the table. Everything is right in front of you. Just make the move. Now, if Aaron Rodgers decides to retire, then the question is what does Pittsburgh do? Do they go with Will Howard, or do they find another veteran quarterback? Now, there are a couple veteran quarterbacks out there that I think are worth signing. Again, I have my top 5 free agent list by position. This is just based off my opinion. I'll give you my quarterbacks right now. Aaron Rodgers, Marcus Mariota, Kenny Pickett, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins. Okay? Now, a lot of people would probably disagree with me on saying Kyler Murray, but I think Kyler Murray might have some success in Pittsburgh. You got to look at it. The time that he was playing for Arizona, and I believe he only had like 3 complete seasons. Those 3 complete seasons weren't bad. They weren't bad. They weren't the greatest, but they weren't bad either. Get Kyler Murray into that Pittsburgh system, and I think Kyler Murray would flourish. And he's still young enough to where he can build a career in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, bring him back and let the younger generation learn off the... Exactly, that's what they should do. It's let him learn. Let Will Howard learn off of Aaron Rodgers. Why Kenny Pickett? Number one, Tommy, if you want to bash my choice, by all means, dude. Just because, bash my choice. It's all good. It's your opinion. Just like this is mine. So if you want to bash my choice, by all means, go for it. But why Kenny Pickett? Because Kenny Pickett, you got to look at it. When he got drafted by Pittsburgh, okay, he didn't have the greatest start. Okay, he leaves, goes to Philadelphia. He's successful as a backup. He wins a Super Bowl with Philly. I mean, yeah, he didn't contribute more than 50% to going and winning the Super Bowl, but he contributed to a small extent. And then he ends up in Cleveland. People think he's going to be the starter, and then poof, gone in an instant. So Kenny Pickett, I think, is at the point where, yes, he could be a successful backup. But if he gets into the right system, and I say this all the time, sometimes players are not in the right system to where they can have success. That is why I feel like the Colts, I feel like they trade Anthony Richardson to the Vikings. I do. I think Anthony Richardson goes to Minnesota. JJ McCarthy and him have a quarterback battle, or you have JJ, Anthony Richardson, and Minnesota maybe bring back Kirk Cousins. Because Kirk had a lot of success in Minnesota. Why they traded him away still baffles me to this day. Now, it was contract dispute. That was the problem. They couldn't reach the contract agreement. But I think Kirk Cousins is at the point now where any contract will be fine. He doesn't need the big contract, 2 years, $14 million. Bring him in and be a mentor to not only one, but two very young quarterbacks. How beneficial would that be? So, but Aaron Rodgers coming back to Pittsburgh, I think, would be the smartest move. And we'll have to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers as we start getting into free agency on March 11th, which is this Wednesday. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, free agency kicks off. Jonnu Smith, tight end of the Steelers, he was released by the team, and the team will now be saving $7 million in cap space with releasing Jonnu Smith. This was kind of a smart move by Pittsburgh because right now, if you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and their tight end position, it's your birthday. Nice. Well, happy early birthday. If I don't see you or talk to you, happy birthday. But Jonnu Smith, tight end of the Steelers, he was released, and the team is now going to be saving $7 million in cap space. This was a very smart move. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and their tight end position. I mean, they have Pat Freiermuth, and they have, I believe, Darnell Washington is the backup tight end. I might be wrong on that. But still, Jonnu Smith coming into Pittsburgh, he didn't do much in Pittsburgh. Him leaving and maybe going somewhere else, he might be able to shine somewhere else. But who knows? Who knows? The tight end position was a very, very tricky position this year. At the beginning of the year, you kind of seen the rise of the tight end position. And then once we got towards the end of the year, it kind of started to slope down a little bit. Unlike 2024, where it was the year of the rebirth of the running back, right? We got all year long running back. Where in 2025, it was the start of the rebirth of the tight end position, but by the time we got to week 10, week 11, downhill it went. So Jonnu Smith being out of Pittsburgh, I don't think is a big loss. They earned $7 million in cap space on it. Smart move by Pittsburgh, and let's see where Jonnu Smith ends up come Wednesday. So Dietrich Wise, defensive lineman of the Commanders, has reached a one-year deal agreement along with Shai Tuttle, defensive lineman of the Commanders. They both reached one-year deals with the Commanders, so they're going to be back for the 2026 season. So, yeah, the Washington Commanders keeping together their defense a little bit here. Don't they got that Washington guy, big time? Yeah, Darnell Washington. That's who they got. So, and I believe Darnell Washington actually, I think he might have gotten released. That's why I say I don't know if they still have him or not. He might have gotten released. That's something I would have to definitely double check on. But I believe they did. He did get released. Lou Holtz, former, sorry, wrong one. Where am I at here? Riley Dixon, punter of the Buccaneers. He exercised, got his option exercised for 2026, so he's going to return to the team. Rashid Shaheed, wide receiver of the Seahawks. There's a lot of talk about his extension. Okay. Now, as we know, Rashid Shaheed, he got traded at the trade deadline back at week 9 of the 2025 season from the New Orleans Saints and became a Seahawk, goes on, wins a Super Bowl. Now there's talks of whether he's going to return to Seattle or not. Okay. Now there's talks about his extension. They haven't reached an agreement yet. So we're going to have to follow this news and see if Rashid Shaheed ends up getting the extension or not. So, the Seahawks may be losing Rashid Shaheed. I said this the other day, and I said this to John during the Tuesday episode, okay? I do not feel like the Seattle Seahawks are even going to come close to repeating this year. I don't. I think this was a one-year deal. They put a good team together, and they were able to go raise the Lombardi Trophy. And think about all the stories coming out of winning the Super Bowl for Seattle. Sam Darnold comes back in, goes to Minnesota last year, 14-3, gets eliminated, comes to Seattle and goes to the Super Bowl, wins. A huge resurgence of his career. Okay. But it's not only him. You look at a lot of the other guys on this team, like a Rashid Shaheed. Okay. Shaheed was on a team that was lucky enough to get 5 wins. This year, 7, right? They didn't know what they were going to do with their quarterback situation until week 3 of the 2025 season, to where they put in Tyler Shook, and Shook took over. And their defense just, the offense could keep them in games. The defense couldn't. So Rashid Shaheed gets traded to Seattle, a super team already, and goes and wins the Super Bowl. Now you look at Seattle. Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP, may not be back. Rashid Shaheed played a big part in helping Seattle get to the Super Bowl in the second half of the season. May not be coming back. You're taking away a 1-2 punch at running back. You're taking away a guaranteed slot receiver and return guy. I mean, Seattle, things are starting to, I'm not saying fall apart in Seattle, but they're not going to have everybody that they had this year. They're not. I don't see Seattle coming even close to repeating. Do I see them making the playoffs? Yeah. Early exit, divisional round. And that's my early prediction. Early. Let's see what they do come Wednesday. Let's see what they do come the draft. But right now, I do not think that they're going to come close. They're not in rebuild. By all means, they're not in rebuild. They're going to get something. Most of the guys they're going to get back. But they're losing a lot of key components. Kenneth Walker, along with Zach Charbonnet. I mean, that was a 1-2 punch in Seattle. Rashid Shaheed being that reliable slot receiver, and he can be a 1 or 2. More 2 than 1. But he's also a return guy. So, we'll have to see what happens with Rashid Shaheed. Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle of the Minnesota Vikings, has been released. Mekhi Becton, offensive guard of the Chargers. Will Dissly, tight end of the Chargers, and Savio Washington, offensive tackle of the Chargers, have been released. Now, when you look at the Chargers, okay, they went out and released Mekhi Becton, who is a heck of an offensive guard, Will Dissly, who was somewhat of an up-and-coming tight end, and Savio Washington, who was a part of the offensive line. Okay? When you looked at that Chargers team last year, and you look at their schedule, okay? I did my predictions last year, and people were on me about my predictions. I said that they were going to go, I believe, 15-2, right? And when you look at a schedule, you're kind of building off of what the teams did last year. But then you look at the Chargers schedule, and it's like, oh, this is a fairly easy schedule on who they're playing. They built this powerhouse of a team, bringing in Najee Harris, getting our Marion Hampton, quarterback position set, wide receivers are set, defense is set, everything's set. You look at the Chargers and you're thinking, this is a team that could go on a potential run. What happened? Injuries. Literally at one point, their whole running back room was on the injury list. That's rough. That's rough. So now you look at it, Mekhi Becton, Will Dissly, Savio Washington, all are out in Los Angeles for the Chargers. Okay? They put Kamani Vidal on an exclusive tender right for a contract extension. So they plan on bringing back Vidal. But what are they going to do with Najee Harris? He's a free agent now. Omari and Hampton, I don't think, can carry the load for them, especially coming off an injury. So we're going to have to see what the Chargers do moving forward, because they are starting to let guys walk, and you're literally taking a team that you built up and turned into a potential powerhouse and letting everybody just vanish. Go elsewhere. So, Jalen Coker and Bryson Tremaine, wide receivers of the Panthers, they were placed on exclusive free agent tender rights So that means that the Panthers have the exclusive tender rights to extend them or sign them for the year. So they do not have Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler, I believe, was in I want to say Washington. I believe he was in Washington. Eckler's been out of Los Angeles for, I think, 2 years now. Yeah, he's been in Washington. I believe he's still in Washington. If not, he's a free agent. Yeah, I didn't see him on the free agent list. I'll say that. So I think he's still out in Washington. So Trent Brown, offensive tackle of the Texans, he reached a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Texans. So he's going to be with the Texans. Drake Jackson, defensive lineman of the Commanders, he reached a 1-year agreement. So again, the Commanders building on that defensive line, bringing guys back, trying to keep their team together. Again, if you look at the Commanders, they made a few changes at the beginning of the 2025 season. Okay. And I said it at the beginning of the season. This is not the same Commanders team that went to the NFC title game in 2024. Okay. They made a lot of changes. They did. I didn't see the Commanders making it back to the playoffs. I didn't even think they were going to be a playoff team. Unfortunately, their quarterback goes down. He gets hurt. They only win a couple games, didn't make the playoffs. You know, yeah, I could toot my own horn and say, hey, ha, 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 I was right, but I'm not going to do that because injuries are unfortunate. They are. So, how do I feel about the trade between Detroit and Houston? We talked about it on the Tuesday episode. It's all good. No worries. I thought it was a really weird trade. I was very stunned by it, especially on Detroit's part, because you had David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, literally one of the best 1-2 punches at running back in the NFL, and you let that go away. Like, I get it. Draft picks are, you see that, first round, second round draft pick offer in front of you, and it's very, you're looking at it and like, man, this is intriguing. But then you got to look at what you have. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, arguably one of the best 1-2 punch running back in the league, and you're going to send one of them to Houston for a first round draft pick. Why would you take that away? It was so weird on Detroit's part to it was weird. They lost a huge piece of that offense by trading away David Montgomery. They did. So, but Trent Brown, offensive tackle of the Texans, reaches a 1-year, $7 million deal. Drake Jackson coming back for Washington for the Commanders. So, yeah. Cam Jordan, defensive end of the Saints, for the first time in his 15-year career, is going to be a free agent. Now, as we know, Cam Jordan are obviously a longtime Saint, has been there for 15 years. The big question is where does he go now? Does he continue playing? Right now, the market for edge rushers, defensive ends are huge. So if Cam Jordan, which he seems every year to come back, able to play and able to stay healthy, can keep going, maybe we see him on one of these big rosters to potentially put a ring on his finger and get a Super Bowl. And let's face it, he deserves it. He's one of those defensive ends that are very popular, and he is definitely deserving of a Super Bowl ring. So, I mean, with Trey Hendrickson gone, Cam Jordan to the Bengals probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Probably would not be a bad idea. Tristan McCollum, safety of the Raiders, he tendered his rights to the team. So it seems like he's going to be around with the Raiders for the moment. Tyler Higbee, tight end of the Rams. He signed a 2-year, $8 million extension with the team. So Tyler Higbee will be returning to Los Angeles for the 2026 season. He's also going to be there, obviously, in 2027, with it being a 2-year deal. This is a pretty good deal for Tyler Higbee. Why? Because, again, we talked about the tight end position. At the beginning of 2025, it seemed like it was on the up. And then by mid-season, towards the back end of the season, it started to take a downward slope in a sense. So the tight end position, it's a tricky position, but it's an important position at the same time. Why? Because tight ends can block. So when you try and get that run game going, as long as you have a good tight end on the end of that offensive line to be able to block, that's what helps get your running back upfield when they run to the outside. So, I mean, Tyler Higbee coming back to the Rams, smart move on the team, smart move on Tyler Higbee, because you don't know what teams are really looking for tight ends. I mean, you have a needs list, but the tight end position is only at the number one slot for like two teams. The Eagles are one of them. And I forget who the other team is that needs a tight end. I think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are number one at the tight end position as well. Let me look at the needs list. I know the Eagles are one of them. The Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have tight end as their number one as well. So the Eagles and Bucks. And the Patriots. Eagles, Bucks, Patriots are the three teams that have the tight end position at number one. So I'll save this one for the end as well. Gunnar Olszewski, wide receiver of the Giants, reached a 1-year agreement with the team, so he's going to be returning to the Giants in 2026. I'm going to save that for the end as well. Man, I have so much news coming out this week. It's crazy. It's crazy. We're going to take 30 seconds. We'll come back to the news. We're going to take a 30-second break. Let me get myself situated here, all right? We'll be right back here on the Huddle Up Podcast. All right, so make sure you're following the Huddle Up Podcast over on social media, on X, TikTok, and Instagram at the Huddle Up Pod, over on the YouTube at the Huddle Up Pod as well, and over on the Twitch channel at the Huddle Up Podcast. Help us build the Huddle Up Podcast going through the 2025 NFL offseason and beyond. So I had to take a minute. I had to. There is so much news to talk about, and I kind of had to resituate myself for a second. And the nice thing is taking those little 30-second commercial breaks to kind of readjust myself here. Yeah. Plus I need to drink something. I'm very weird about drinking on live. I don't know why. Like, when I do shows, I like drinking juice. Okay. Full disclosure. When I'm doing shows, I like to drink juice. My prefer is strawberry banana. But I had no strawberry banana. I ran out. So I grabbed some OJ for this morning, right? And I'm not the biggest fan of OJ with pulp. I'm not. That's all I have is OJ with pulp. So it's like, oh, man. Like, jeez. My luck. Even with juice. All right, let's continue the news. Quarterback Tommy DeVito has reached a 2-year, $7.4 million deal with the Patriots, $2 million guaranteed in this contract. Tommy DeVito obviously became one of the most popular backup quarterbacks about 2 or 3 years ago with the Giants. He started to get these contracts that are pretty sizable for a backup quarterback. It's almost close to an $8 million contract, $7.4 million with $2 million guaranteed. I mean, that's huge for a backup quarterback. And Tommy DeVito has obviously proven himself that he could be a future starter, I think. He did pretty well for the Giants, didn't do too bad. even though they had a bad season overall, he tried to keep them afloat. I think Tommy DeVito, he could be a future starter in this league in the next year or two, pending on what team he goes to, number one, because right now you look at it, a lot of teams are starting to set into their franchise quarterbacks for the next 10 years. I think Tommy DeVito is still in that place to where there could be a team, let's say in the middle of this year, that is going to need a quarterback, and he ends up getting traded to said team and earns their starting position. I still think Tommy DeVito has that potential to do so. So with him getting this contract in New England is huge, and the future is still pretty bright for Tommy DeVito. Geno Smith, quarterback of the Raiders, has parted ways with the team. We've seen this coming, right? Raiders have the first overall pick. Mendoza's right there at number 1 for them. Foregone conclusion, Geno Smith is out in Las Vegas. I mean, that was a given. Seen that coming. So did that surprise me when I seen this news yesterday? No, it didn't surprise me at all, seeing Geno Smith being out of Las Vegas. So it would be crazy. And we talked about this during the Tuesday show of how crazy would it be if the Raiders traded away their number 1 spot and didn't go Mendoza. How crazy would it be if the Raiders went elsewhere other than Mendoza? Did you watch the NFL Combine? A couple quarterbacks there that showed some pretty good potential. Drew Aller, one of them. So we'll have to see. Joe Mixon, running back of the Texans, he asked for his release on Thursday, and it got granted on Friday. So Joe Mixon is no longer the running back for the Houston Texans. This one kind of surprised me because of the David Montgomery trade, okay? When you looked at the Lions, you looked at them and seen David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, okay? Now David Montgomery goes to the Texans. And yeah, the Texans had Willie Marks in 2025. And it seems like he's going to possibly be a part of their future. But Joe Mixon and David Montgomery could have been a potential 1-2 in Houston. Houston may have figured out their running back situation with the trade for David Montgomery. And now Joe Mixon goes and says, you know what? I want out. And he got out. So it's like, I hope Joe Mixon realizes he's making the right decision or realizes, saying to himself, like I hope he made the right decision for himself, and hopefully he finds a team and a home to go to, because Joe Mixon, he's still a pretty good running back. Yeah, he's dealt with some injuries and didn't play really at all in 2025. But I think Joe Mixon could still have potential to go out and be a starting running back and produce and do something big. It's just all about staying healthy, finding the right team, finding the right fit. And Houston could have been the right fit, especially with David Montgomery coming in. Willie Marks being there, you could have had a 3-headed monster. And Houston, I think, with them bringing in a new quarterback coach, is going to be huge for C.J. Stroud. C.J. is probably going to get better. Houston is going to be on the turnaround. So, I don't know. I don't know. I part of me feels like Joe Mixon might have made the wrong decision here. So, Rashad Gary, edge rusher of the Packers, he put out a post yesterday saying thank you to Green Bay. Okay, now there's been talks about him wanting to be released. There's been talks about trade. So he made a post. And then about an hour later, he deleted said post. Okay. Now, it's unknown whether Rashawn Gary wants out of Green Bay or if Green Bay is thinking about trading him or releasing him. Everything's unsure right now, and hopefully we can have an answer by the Tuesday show on what is going on with this situation. But I think it would be foolish of Green Bay to let Rashad Gary go. He is one hell of an edge rusher, and he can produce for that defense. And let's face it, Green Bay, the past 3 years being the 7th seed in the playoffs and having, the first year as a 7th seed made to the divisional round, lost. The last 2 years, wild card round, exit. At this point, you got to figure out what you're going to do. And Rashawn Gary could be a big part of that defense. And if they're going to make any moves, make them now. Don't wait until, spring or training camp. Don't wait until you start getting to your little workouts, your half-day workouts, spring workouts, whatever you want to call them. Don't wait for that. Make your moves now and start getting things together. Because I think Rashawn Gary is going to be a big part of any defense, including Green Bay. I got some news that you're probably saving until the end. If it's something that just came out, then I probably don't have it. I try my best to. Here's the thing: is on the Tuesday show, it's easier to keep up with some news, but on the Saturday edition, it's kind of hard. So, if it's from last night, then I probably got it. Okay, if I don't say it, we'll get to, if I don't mention it by the time we get to my top 5 free agents list, then yeah. So let's see. I'm not even through the news yet, and we're 46 minutes into the show. I got a couple more things to talk about, and I have 2 more segments to run. So I think we're running longer than 60 minutes today. Taylor Decker, offensive tackle of the Lions. He requested his release, and it got granted. So Tyler Decker no longer in Detroit. We'll have to see where he ends up. Ryan Kelly, center for the Vikings, decided to retire after 10 seasons. So we wish Ryan Kelly the best of luck and wish him a happy and healthy retirement here from the Huddle Hub podcast. Daniel Hunter, defensive end of the Texans. He has signed a 1-year, $40.1 million extension. When I seen this, I was like, man, that is a huge deal for a year. $40.1 million extension for 1 year. If I was Houston, I would have really rethought that. Yes, cap space has gone up. Yes, Daniel Hunter is a big player. But $40 million? That's big. Okay. Cameron Curl, defensive back of the Rams, he signed a 3-year, $36 million deal as well. Alvin Kamara, running back of the Saints, he adjusted his contract yesterday. And now it is a $10.55 million base salary that got turned into a bonus and lowered the 2026 cap by $8 million. Okay. Treylon Burks, wide receiver of the Commanders, got a 1-year, $4 million deal. Alec Ingold, fullback of the Dolphins, and Jason Sanders, kicker of the Dolphins, were both released. Kendall Williams, safety of the Chargers, signed an extension. And then center Tyler Baidez, he signed a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Chargers. And then the Buffalo Bills, Curtis Samuels, wide receiver, Teron Johnson, defensive back, and Taylor Rapp, the safety, all were released. Okay. So 3 more things, and then we'll get into the trade talks because we had trades. I didn't add those into the news. I made those a separate thing. Lou Holtz, former college football coach, passed away at the age of 89. Condolences to his family, friends, and everybody around him passing away at the age of 89. Bob Harlan, former president of the Green Bay Packers, he had also passed away at the age of 89. So condolences go out to his family and friends as well. And the last bit of news, Myles Garrett, edge rusher of the Browns. Okay, this is a fun little one. Myles Garrett, edge rusher of the Browns, back on February 21st, was issued his 9th speeding ticket since 2017. He was going 94 miles per hour in a 70. Okay. Now, me and John talk about this all the time because it seems like every time for the past couple weeks on the Tuesday show, you know, we've had some unfortunate, sad news of young players, you know, leaving this world. And it's sad. Now, Myles Garrett, yeah, it's funny. Ninth ticket since 2017, speeding, all that stuff. But think of it, 94 and a 70. Okay? Now, sadly enough, we have young players who leave this world a little too early. And it's sad. Some of these players need to start thinking about what they're doing. Some of these players do. They need to start thinking about what they are doing with their off time. Now, granted, it's a lot easier for somebody like me to sit here and say, oh, they should think about what they're doing because my life is simple. I do podcasting, I play video games, hang out with my dogs, watch movies. That's it. And watch wrestling. So it's easier for me to say something like this. But at the same time, be smarter with your time off. Because there's too much of this. And it's not just because they're football players and the potential to help a team win a suit. No, it's just life. Way too young. Way too young. And yeah, it's funny news that, Myles Garrett, ninth ticket since 2017, yeah. But think of the serious consequences. Funny at the end of the day, but at the same time, think of the consequences. And yeah, Myles Garrett, he's 30 years old? Dude, you're 30. Get it, you got fast cars and everything. Like, just chill out. Chill out. Seriously. Seriously. I said seriously, and my Siri went off on my phone. All right, so let's get into the trades that have happened. Starting off, the Las Vegas Raiders have traded away edge rusher Max Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens for a 2026 and 2027 first-round pick. Now, there's been a lot of talks about where Max Crosby was going to get traded to or if he was going to stay in Las Vegas. And a lot of the chatter about what teams were the higher potentials, like Chicago, like Philly, like New England. I didn't even know Baltimore was on the radar, but they obviously were. Baltimore bit. They said, here's our first round pick for the next 2 years. There you go. Send us Max Crosby. And now they got one hell of an edge rusher out there in Baltimore, and that defense is looking better and better by the day on how they're building it. And this is the first time in the 31-year history of the Baltimore Ravens that they have used their first-round draft pick in a trade. 31 years. And have never traded away their first-round draft pick. That's huge. Because we are in the day and age where teams are willing to give up first and second round draft picks for players. And some for players that may not be worth it. In this case, Baltimore, it's worth it. It was smart on Baltimore's part. There you go. And now instead of worrying about going out and drafting an edge rusher or trying to find a guy in free agency, you traded away 2 first-round picks, and you got a guy who you know is going to make an impact on day one. So, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting season out there in the AFC North. I'll say that. It's going to be very interesting. It is. So, the Kansas City Chiefs have traded away cornerback Trent McDuffie to the Los Angeles Rams. In return, they got a first, fifth, and sixth round 2026 draft pick and a 2027 third round draft pick. The Rams, getting Trent McDuffie, one hell of a defensive back, huge to help out in that defensive backfield. The Chiefs stockpiling those draft picks. The Chiefs, they're not in a bad position. Okay, they had a bad year. I don't think the Chiefs are one of those teams where they're going to have continuous bad years. Okay, They had a bad year in 2025. Their franchise quarterback goes down in the middle of a playoff race. And crazy enough, the game that he goes down in, they were officially eliminated from playoff contention. Okay? So the Chiefs had a rough year. Now they're trading away arguably one of their best defensive players. They're stocking up on those draft picks, which is a good thing. But one of your best defensive players? I don't know. It's a 50-50 win-loss. We'll have to see what happens with this. Let's see what the Chiefs do with these draft picks. I think they trade away at least the 5th or 6th round draft pick or both. They're obviously going to use the 1st round draft pick to their advantage. And they have that 3rd round draft pick in 2027. So Trent McDuffie heading to Los Angeles. It seems like Los Angeles, they're going to try and make another run. The last 2 years just haven't been on their side as far as luck in the playoffs. So trying to build that team up. The Chicago Bears have traded away wide receiver DJ Moore and a 5th round 2026 draft pick to the Buffalo Bills, in return getting a 2nd round 2026 draft pick. I liked this trade. I did. Now, you look at Buffalo and you look at their wide receiver core, and they don't have a bad wide receiver core. They don't. But they needed to bring somebody in that could help out Keon Coleman. Okay? Because Keon Coleman is obviously the WR1 out in Buffalo. He is. But he's a young kid. He's still feeling his way out in this league. So for him to come in and have that pressure of being the WR1, that's a lot. Now, DJ Moore, yes, he's fairly young as well. This is going to be a young receiving core out in Buffalo. It's going to be great for Josh Allen. He's going to have more options. Khalil Shakir, he was a hit or miss receiver this year. So Buffalo building up, bringing DJ Moore in was very, very smart. Buffalo, Chicago, getting that 2nd round pick in return. I love this trade. This was a really good trade. Was it a little surprising? It was, but at the same time, I mean, look at Chicago. They got a good receiving core. DJ Moore didn't do much in 2025, and even if he would have done a little more, I don't think would have made the difference. So I like this trade. I think it was a very good trade. Probably my favorite trade out of the first 3 that we talked about. And the final trade is the New England Patriots send center Garrett Bradbury to the Bears. In return, got a 2027 5th round draft pick. Okay. That's it. So I did really like the DJ Moore trade. The Bears, obviously, they're trying to make some moves. Tremaine Edmonds being gone. I mean, Chicago, they're on the up, but they got to try and keep the core guys to keep going in that direction. You let go of Tremaine Edmonds, which really surprised me because I thought he was a crucial part of that defense. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Okay. I'm going to get into my top 5 free agents list by position. We're going to take another 30 seconds. We'll be right back here on the Huddle Podcast. Again, make sure you're following the Huddle Podcast over on social media on X, TikTok, and now on Instagram at the Huddle Pod. Over on YouTube at the Huddle Pod as well. Make sure you're following on the Twitch channel. Help us build the Huddle podcast going through the rest of the 2026 NFL offseason and college football offseason and beyond. Be greatly appreciated. So we are in overtime here on the Huddle podcast on the Saturday edition. We are past the 60-minute mark, which means we are in overtime. So let's get into my top five free agents by position. Okay. Now, this is very, very opinionated. Okay. I guarantee if I post this list on social media, I'm going to get people that agree with me, people that disagree with me. You're going to have people that literally crap on my opinion and people that might agree with me. But again, it's my opinion at the end of the day. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. Everybody is going to have their own opinion. So let's get into this list again at quarterback. And this is by any way, this is not a ranking system either. This is just, a top 5 list, not ranked, just a top 5 list. At quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, Marcus Mariota, Kenny Pickett, Kyler Murray, and Kirk Cousins. Okay, those are my top 5 quarterbacks on free agency. At running back, Kenneth Walker, Rico Dowdle, Najee Harris, Isaiah Pacheco, and Brian Robinson Jr. Okay, those are the top 5 running backs I think are on the free agent list right now. I have a feeling that a lot of these guys are not going to have a problem finding a home in 2026. I think these guys are going to be off the list fairly early on Wednesday. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing these guys start coming off this list starting today. It wouldn't surprise me because there's teams out there that need a running back, and these guys are going to go get snatched up. So I see these guys off the list fairly early. At wide receiver, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Alec Pierce, and Tutu Atwell. Okay, those are the top 5 in wide receiver. Mike Evans, I see him going back to Tampa Bay. We've seen this before. Had the contract dispute, went out, looked to see what the offers were. Tampa Bay was able to match it. He came back to Tampa. I see Mike Evans back in Tampa Bay. Tyreek Hill, I see him in a couple places. I do. There's a couple teams I see Tyreek Hill going to. Back to Kansas City seems to be the more favorable part. There's a lot of talk right now about A.J. Brown possibly getting traded to Kansas City for a first and second round draft pick because that's what Philly wants for him, a first and second round draft pick. There's a possibility there. It would definitely save the Eagles about $8 million in cap space if they were to trade away A.J. Brown. They'd be able to pick up Reed Blankenship, bring back Nakobe Dean. They'd be able to make a lot of moves if they traded away A.J. Brown. They would be able to. Now, me personally, I've said it. Do not get rid of him. He's excited to see what this offense is going to turn into. He wants to see what happens. I say wait until the trade deadline in week 9. But teams are going to want him sooner. And if the right offer comes by, I could see A.J. Brown being out of Philadelphia as soon as Wednesday. So, Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas City, maybe. But if A.J. goes in there, then Tyreek may not be heading back to Kansas City. Deebo Samuels, I see going back to San Francisco. Alec Pierce, maybe going to Chicago, maybe going to Detroit to be a reliable 3, help out in that receiving core. Alec Pierce has a lot of potential. He definitely raised his stock in Indianapolis. I could see Alec Pierce being anywhere and helping out. And Tutu Atwell, hell of a slot receiver. Could I see him going back to Los Angeles with the Rams? Maybe. That's if he's still on this free agent list come training camp. So, at tight end, David Njoku, Dallas Goedert, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, and Isaiah Likely. Okay? Now, David Njoku, I've said it many times. I would love to see him in a Philly uniform. I'm a huge fan of David Njoku. I would love to see him in an Eagles uniform, but obviously we're going to have to see where he ends up. Dallas Goedert, Philly will probably extend Dallas Goedert for the year and then make a decision next year on him. But Dallas Goedert, if Dallas Goedert walks, I can definitely see him going, no pun intended, going to the Cowboys. I could. Because the Cowboys originally wanted him. But Philly jumped in front of them in the draft and they took him. He raised his stock in Philly. Now Dallas is probably wanting him more. So I could see Dallas Goedert in Dallas. As far as Travis Kelce, I see one of two places for Travis Kelce. Number one, returning to Kansas City. Number two, signing with Cincinnati. There you go. My thought on Travis Kelce. At tackle, Elijah Vera Tucker, Chukwuma Okafor, Ryan Van Denmark, Justin Skoll, and Cam Robinson. At guard, offensive guard, Braden Smith, Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Greg Van Rotten, and Brady Christensen. And at center, Lloyd Cushenberry, Connor McGovern, Cade Mays, Danny Pinter. And then I have Tyler Baidez on here, but he signed with the Chargers. Okay, so not a bad start for my free agent list because one of my free agents on my list already signed. So I'm batting 1,000 here. I am so far. Let's see if the rest of my list comes off the board on offense. We'll definitely have to see. Let's get to the defensive side of my list. Okay, at edge rusher, Trey Hendrickson, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, DJ Wonnum, and Jalen Phillips. Now, Jalen Phillips, I see him back in Philly. He got traded from the Miami Dolphins to Philadelphia during the trade deadline. I see Philly putting the money out on him, keeping him in Philadelphia. He loves being in Philly. It's, foregone conclusion. Stays in Philly. Trey Hendrickson, I see him going to Chicago. I do. Me and John talked about this on Tuesday. And me and John are in agreement. We both see him going to Chicago. So would not surprise me if Trey Hendrickson ends up in a Bears uniform. Wouldn't surprise me. Joey Bosa, he needs to go back to Buffalo. Buffalo needs to put the money out for him and bring him back. They do. I think so. So at defensive tackle, Sebastian Joseph, Isaiah Loudermilk, Sheldon Day, DJ Reader, and Sheldon Rankins. At linebacker, Bobby Wagner, Alex Singleton, Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano, and Christian Roseboom. Okay, that I think Tremaine Edmonds is one of the top free agent linebackers out there. Whoever gets him, man. And I could see them getting him for a good deal. I could. At cornerback, Marshawn Lattimore, Trevon Diggs, Greg Newsome, Jeff Okuda, and Chidobe Awuzie. At safety, Jimmy Ward, Reed Blankenship, Jordan Poyer, Kobe Bryant, and Marcus Epps. Reed Blankenship, I see Philly putting the money out for Reed and bringing him back. As far as Jimmy Ward, where he ends up, I don't know. I mean, I was very surprised that he got released. So, Jimmy Ward, still a reliable safety in this league. So whoever gets him, they're going to get a really good safety. And Kobe Bryant as well. I think the Rams should have put the money out for him. They should have. So, at kicker, Brandon Aubrey, Jake Moody, Joey Styles, Eddie Pinheiro, and Matt Prater. Brandon Aubrey obviously putting out the argument of should be the top paid kicker in the league. The Cowboys agreed to it. Well, there you go. Dallas put the money out and bring him back then and pay him. It seems like you're the only team that believes this. Who cares if he's 30 years old? Put the money out. He's a kicker. Okay? We see kickers kicking in this league at 46, 47 years old. Pay him. You're the only team that believes it. Pay him. Matt Prater did a hell of a job in Buffalo. Matt Prater should be a kicker that comes off this list fairly early for teams that need kickers. Jake Moody, I think, had a bad year. He just had an off year. I think he can end up on a team and stay on a team. And Eddie Pinheiro needs to go back to San Francisco. He fit there. So just my thought. Just my thought. But those are my top 5 free agents by position. I'm going to hold on to this list because I want to see who ends up getting signed where and see what my percentage is as far as players getting signed off of the free agent list. I'm going to hold on to this list and we're going to see. So, Tommy, are you still in the chat? Kind of curious. You said that you had some news and you wanted to see if I covered it first. And let's see what the news is. See if we could talk about it. We're in overtime right now. We could take some time. We're not on a time crunch. We usually just run 60 minutes. We can run all day if we want to. If I want to stay and turn this into a gaming stream, I want, I could. So Tommy, if you're in the chat, what's the news? You wanted to see if I saved it until the end. That's if you're still in the chat. Don't know if you might have left us. I'll give you 30 seconds. And then we're going to move on and get out of here. That's why I'm weird about drinking my juice while on camera. Because of the ice sound. During the Tuesday show, I can mute myself. While John's talking. Can't mute myself during a show. All right, I think I'm going to get out of here, Tom. I don't think Tommy's in the chat no more. We're going to get out of here, guys. Again, make sure you're heading over to the Huddle Hub Podcast over on social media, on X, TikTok, and now on Instagram at the Huddle Hub Pod. At the Huddle Hub Pod on YouTube, you're going to hit the subscribe button and make sure you're following on the Twitch channel. All of our social media links are in the Twitch bio. You can click on them, and it will take you right to the one you desire. You can help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the rest of the NFL and college football offseason and beyond. You can follow me on social media, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat. Metal Mike 714 is where you can find me. I think I'm going to take my Snapchat off of there. We're going to fix that. I don't think we're going to have Snapchat on there because here's the thing. Here's the thing is I put my Snapchat up here and then I get friend requests and yeah. Turn out to be bots. Take that off. So Instagram, X, and TikTok, Metal Mike 714 is where you can find me on social media. Don't be afraid to reach out on the Instagram. And if you want to talk football or anything like that, you can DM me. That's where you can find me. I do personal streams once in a while. I do Fortnite streams on TikTok. So come join me for some Fortnite streaming. I do plan on getting back into my player probably this week. I've had very little desire to do my player streams as of late. I'm not going to lie, but I think I want to start getting back into it this week. Maybe tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see. But that's where you can follow me on social media. Appreciate everybody who came out today during the live, not watching the recording. Thank you so much. Be good to each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. We'll see you guys on the Tuesday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast as me and John are going to talk about the cap space from the AFC. We did the NFC last week. We're going to talk about the NFC. We did the NFC last week. We're going to talk about the AFC and all the teams' cap space going into free agency on Wednesday on the Tuesday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Twitch and YouTube. Be good to each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. See you guys on the Tuesday edition. Until then, have a great weekend. Deuces.